Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 242. And I've got something exciting to talk to you about today. Angie, your ultimate destination for getting all your jobs done well. Now, Angie isn't just your average home services marketplace. It's a true game changer with over 150 million homeowners served and a network of over 200,000 skilled pros. Angie has the experience and expertise to tackle any project with ease. Whether you're looking to spruce up your backyard or undergo a major home renovation, Angie's got your back. And their pros are locally based, often running small businesses right in your community. And here's the best part. Angie makes the process seamless. From researching and comparing pros to scheduling services at your convenience, Angie's user-friendly platform puts you in control. So why settle for anything less than perfection when it comes to your home? With Angie, you can trust that every project will be completed with the utmost care and professionalism. So, get started today at Angie.com, that's A-N-G-I, or download the app today and discover why homeowners across the nation are turning to Angie to get all their jobs done well. All right, so here's the deal. We have a massive show today. We have some breaking news from overnight. The NBA Finals start, and I barely slept last night because I have some weird head cold going on. So I'm going to try to power through today because I feel fine, but I've got something going on. But today's a big show, and we had news I did not expect to be coming. And if I wasn't Damonza already hyped about the finals, I'm going to throw a curveball at you a bit here. Guess who? The first one's going to be very hard to guess, but once you hear the answer to that, you might be able to guess the second one. Guess who the Boston Celtics had narrate their hype video that they posted last night? It's an all-time great athlete from the region. Non-basketball.
Call it Tom Brady.
Tom Brady is correct. Tom Brady narrated the Celtics hype video. Guess who narrated the Mavs hype video? It's a prominent Mavs fan in line with Tom Brady. It was Patrick Mahomes. So it's almost like these finals are a GOAT quarterback proxy war. Like you've got Patrick's Mavs and Tom's Celtics. Like I don't know if this goes on the GOAT ledger, but if the Mavs win, does Patrick get like a quarter of a ring in the race? I don't know. Some people are saying it. So I was already hyped for it, but now there's just added stakes. It's that Brady's doing the Mavs, or the Celtics, Patrick's doing the Mavs. I think maybe, do they both show up? I mean, Patrick's definitely showing up courtside for the Mavs games in Dallas. Does Tom show up courtside for the Celtics games in Boston? Is he there tonight? I don't know. I couldn't be more excited, but somehow Woj stole the show, so we can't even start the show with that. But first, quickly, what missed the cut? Travis Kelce does not watch Grey's Anatomy with Taylor Swift. That should have, to be honest, guys, missed the cut for missing the cut. FX's Clipped premiered Tuesday. I won't watch a second of it, and this sucks. But Novak Djokovic hurt in the French Open. But Damonza, let's start with the breaking news overnight from Woj. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there's some breaking news out of Los Angeles. A new name being thrown into the ring for the Los Angeles head coaching position. Uconn's Dan Hurley. I got a couple questions for you with that. Which coach do you think has a better chance of leading LA back to the finals between him and JJ Redick? And secondly, which coach do you think has a better chance to retain LeBron?
So I don't think LeBron's decision about where he plays is going to be impacted much by whether it's Hurley or JJ, because he clearly has a lot of respect for both of them. He actually replied to a JJ interview with Dan Hurley talking about how brilliant he was. He obviously thinks JJ's a sharp basketball mind. So I want to be fair here, but I also, what I owe the audience is honesty. This would be, in my opinion, a great hire. Dan Hurley. There are two types of college basketball coaches, not just two types, but super high-level successful ones. One is because they are just great recruiters, kind of like Coach Cal, and the other is because they're obviously very good recruiters, but excellent tacticians. Dan Hurley seems more the latter than the former. He is an excellent tactician, which is why I would think it could translate to the NBA. I would be pleasantly surprised if the Lakers end up landing this plane. Where I said I owe the audience honesty, do I honestly think that it is on the board that the Lakers are floating this? Not that dissimilar to, hey, they'd love Jason Kidd, who's under contract coaching a team in the playoffs, and then he gets an extension. Hey, they'd love Ty Lue, who's under contract coaching a team with the richest owner in sports, and that this is to placate the fan base that is underwhelmed by J.J. Redick potentially getting the job. Yeah, I think that's on the board. And I am not taking this report to mean Dan Hurley is the next Lakers head coach. However, if he is the next Lakers head coach, that's a great hire. A great hire. And when the other candidates were James Borrego, who did a nice job with no talent in Charlotte but is a little underwhelming. Sam Cassell would be a first-time head coach. JJ would be a first-time anything coach. And then you have a guy who has built a dynasty in Uconn and is young and is sharp and is great at developing players, has a brilliant mind for offensive basketball. All of that is exciting. It is not in the Genie Bus Lakers history that they are going to pay a lot of money for a head coach, that they are going to have long-term commitments to a head coach. So it would be going outside of what they typically do. But I have been very critical of Rob Pelinka and Genie Bus for a lot of things and for how they hire coaches, how they lowball coaches, all of it. This would redeem a massive amount of that. And this would be spending real money, making a big commitment. I also, call it because I think Lakers folks have been burned in the past by well-timed leaks of, we just quite didn't get it done. I am a little skeptical of how close this is to being a done deal. If it does get done, it's a great hire. Great hire for the Lakers, independent of LeBron. AD's young enough, and under the new CBA, as Woj talked about, you really do have to develop players. He's shown a great track record of that at the collegiate level. I like everything about the Dan Hurley hire I would like for the Lakers. I am walking with some trepidation on whether or not they actually think they are going to hire Dan Hurley or whether or not they simply want that to be out there. So if they at some point hire J.J. Redick, no one can accuse them of not shooting the moon, not being willing to spend money, all those things. So to me, the Lakers front office has earned that level of skepticism. But this would be a hell of a coup. And if they get Dan Hurley, that's an excellent hire. Do you have anything you want to follow up there on Damonza, or do you want to get to the finals? It's your call.
No, I mean we can get to the final. If they do end up hiring JJ, is that a step back?
I think hiring a guy who's never coached above the Pop Warner level we have all it's been such a long process of them targeting JJ, seemingly landing on JJ, that everyone has just come to accept it, when 3 months ago that would have been an absurdity. If when LeBron and JJ's podcast launched, when Darvin Ham was already on the hot seat, if someone's like, hey, guess what? That guy's going to be the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, people would have been like, you're out of your mind. But there's a bit of a boiling frog paradigm going on here, where the temperature has just been raised a degree at a time. Do you know what the boiling frog is? Frogs in a pot of water.
It's being cooked.
Exactly, because they just slowly keep raising the temperature. It has been such a slow drip of, oh, JJ's a candidate. Oh, JJ's getting an interview. Oh, JJ's the leading candidate. Oh, in fact, they might have picked JJ, but they're waiting for the finals to be over. Oh, JJ's filling out his staff, that everyone has just come to accept the fact that JJ Redick might be the head coach of the Lakers. And so, yeah, it's not the hire I would make, but Dan Hurley would be great. We will see. We'll see what happens there. And I didn't mean to be rude when I said, are you familiar with the boiling frog thing? Sometimes I use these kind of arcane analogies.
Like,
that I don't know.
That question's definitely necessary, because sometimes I have no idea what you're talking about. But that time I didn't know what you were talking about.
Okay, all right, fair enough. And I feel like the audience is in your seat a lot of these times. So whenever I say something and I see a look on your face, you're like, I'm not sure what he's referring to. I'm like, that's the same look a lot of the audience has. Okay, good. All right, let's get to the NBA Finals preview.
All right, so we've had a lot of time between the Eastern and Western Conference Finals to get to the finals, with the gentleman's sweep and the sweep on the East side. And we're going to get into, we're going to zero in on this game in a minute after a few games. Yep. But with all the time off, do you think everybody's bound to overreact to tonight's game?
Oh, no question about it. I mean, because it's been so long since we had a basketball game, tonight's game is going to feel disproportionately important. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but I truly see a scenario where the Mavs lose tonight and then win the next 4. I'm not saying that is the smartest prediction, but I think that we got used to the Mavs winning game ones the last couple rounds. But the fact of the matter is, Luka, in his career, here's how game ones have gone for the Mavs. They lost game 1, his first playoff series against the Clippers. They then won game 1 the next year against the Clippers. Then, en route to the Western Conference Finals, they lost game 1 to Utah. They lost game 1 to Phoenix. They lost game 1 to Golden State. This year, they lost game 1 to the Clippers. They lost game 1 to OKC. And then, so it's not the last couple rounds. And then, obviously, they dominated the Western Conference Finals and they won that. So, there has always been with Luka an element of the LeBron feel-out game to game 1, which is obviously you're trying to win, but you are diagnosing, seeing what's going on. Yeah, exactly right. And you feel like it's a long series, and I don't have... Now, another factor of that is this is remarkable. Luka's played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is Luka's 9th career playoff series. 8 of those 9 times, he has not had home court. They have been the road team. The one time he had home court advantage in a series, he missed the first 2 home games. It's when he was injured against Utah a couple years ago. So the other thing that happens in these games is it's also less critical for the Mavs in Luka's career to win game 1 because they are the road team. You know, I know it's cliche, but it's true. You take care of your home games and then try to steal 1 on the road. So I think there will be overreaction. Here are the things, and I hope I'm not stepping on the rest of the show, But here are the things I am watching tonight. Who is the primary defender on Kyrie Irving? I personally think it should be Drew Holiday if I were the Celtics. And that's for two reasons. Now, you could say we can have Derek White do it, right? Because Derek White's a good defender. If you have Derek White do it, and you do a Luka-Kyrie pick and roll, and Derek White ends up on Luka, you're in trouble if you're Boston. You're in a lot of trouble if you're Boston. Now, I don't think that Drew
I don't hate that matchup
can
that
do
much,
a great
like he could,
Luka and Derek White.
Derek White, yeah.
Oh, I just think Luka's too big. I just think Luka would just back him
Drew
down.
Is a little bit
what
more
I mean?
stout, that's fair.
Drew is way more, and Drew's way more stout, and I think Drew is a good enough defender that he can really, I don't want to say eliminate, but really hamper Kyrie. Really hamper him. And you don't really need Drew's offense. So I want to see what that matchup is. And then I want to see in the front court. Okay, so this is a little X's and O's, and I will leave this typically to Zach Lowe, of Zach Lowe's and Kevin O'Connor's of the world, but it's the finals, so we can do it for a moment. I think that the Celtics are going to put Kristaps on whomever they believe to be the Mavs' least dangerous offensive player. So probably Derek Jones Jr. That way, if Luka is trying to get Kristaps involved in the action on a pick and roll, then his pick and roll partner, instead of being Lively, right, or instead of being PJ Washington, is Derek Jones Jr., who is probably the guy you least want to be operating offensively. So I think that's an interesting one to watch. I'm also curious, who do you think Damonza is going to be guarding Luka? Jason Tatum, and again, there's going to be switches. There's going to be, I understand all of that. But his primary assignment, who do you think it's going to be?
I got a funny feeling it will be Jaylen Brown. It'll probably be Jaylen Brown.
So I think it will be too. So the question is, will it be Tatum or Brown, really? And right. Who do you not mind their offense getting sapped from to a degree?
Yeah, from guarding Luka.
Because guarding Luka is going to take away from your ability on offense. It just is. Now, Jaylen Brown, I think, is a touch better defensive player than Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum's a very good defensive player, but I think Jaylen Brown's better. But Tatum is so much taller that I wonder if Tatum wouldn't have more success. But now all of a sudden, this is where it really does. There is some, I don't want to say ego management, because Tatum has been such a great teammate and Tatum has conducted himself so well. But I thought that the whole, did Tatum celebrate Jalen's Eastern Conference Finals MVP enough was ridiculous. I thought the idea that there is some battle between Tatum and Brown, I haven't seen that. The only thing I've seen over the years is maybe Jaylen Brown being understandably annoyed that every offseason he's included in trade rumors and zero offseasons Tatum is. You know what I mean? So I think there is, but I don't think between those two guys there's any issue. With all that said, if you're Jason Tatum and you're tasked with guarding Luka, and all of a sudden that leads to your offensive numbers being depressed, and then Jaylen Brown won Conference Finals MVP. Jaylen Brown is having the best offensive series, in the finals. That could be a tricky spot. And so I'm really intrigued by that. I'm also really intrigued by how I am not worried about Luka in his first finals at all. This guy was playing in EuroLeague tournaments with guys setting flares off in the crowd when he was a teenager. He's not going to be intimidated. Kyrie is not going to be intimidated. Everyone else on the Mavs, these are the biggest games of their entire lives by a wide margin. Wide margin. The Celtics, meanwhile, every single one of those guys, except for Kristaps, was playing in these games 2 years ago. And so, how does, and I guess for Drew it was 3 years ago, but still, they've all been there. How does that impact it? And then the last thing is Porzingis, which, we'll get to in a bit. But, all right, let's get to the next question, Damonza.
Yeah, so we just talked about game one. But what is your what's your finals prediction? What do you think will be the narrative of this series?
Oh, I think the narrative of this series is going to be Luka Doncic is one of the greatest offensive players in the history of the league. I do. I think Luka is going to full-blown control every possession that he wants to. It is going to be not that dissimilar from LeBron 2015 against the Warriors, where the ball is just always in his hands and he is making every decision, with the distinction being this Celtics team is not quite as good as that 2015 Warriors team, and Kyrie Irving, God willing, isn't going to break his kneecap in game one. And that when Luka needs to take possessions off, Kyrie can go cook. But I think that you are going to see Luka dissecting a great defense as he has throughout his entire playoff career. So that is the other aspect of this that I think is noteworthy on a Luka history standpoint. Luka has only played against great defenses in his postseason career. In his first ever playoffs, and this is, I think, an underrated fact about him. First ever playoffs, he's playing a fully healthy Clippers team that season was the number 5 defense in the NBA. His second ever playoffs, he's playing against a fully healthy Clippers team that was number 8 in the NBA, and Kristaps got hurt in it. His third playoff season, in round 1, he's playing against a Utah team that has the now 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, who was the number 9 defense in basketball, then a Phoenix team that year was the number 3 defense in basketball, then a Warriors team that year was the number 2 defense in basketball. This year, in the postseason, he has gone, and I'm doing the per 100, I'm doing true defensive numbers. In the first round, for the first time in his career, he got a break defensively because the Clippers were below average at number 18. Then in round 2, they played the Thunder, who were the number 4 defense. In round 3, they played the Timberwolves, who were the number 1 defense. So Luka has gone up against, in his postseason career, and now they're playing Boston, who's the number 3 defense. In 9 series, he's gone up against 8 top 10 defenses and 5 top 5 defenses. And he has put up historic postseason numbers. And so, I listen to, legend of the podcast game, Bill Simmons, tried to talk himself into the idea that we should just throw away what the Mavs did against the Timberwolves for reasons that never really got explained. Everyone needs to remember the way the Timberwolves were being discussed and the way that defense was being discussed from a historic standpoint during and after the Nuggets series. And Luka eviscerated them. Absolutely eviscerated them. And now he gets a chance to do it against Boston. And the Thunder and Boston had a lot of similarities this year. This year on defense, Boston 3, Oklahoma City 4. On offense, Boston 1, Oklahoma City 3. On 3-point percentage this season, Oklahoma City 1, Boston 2. Very similar teams. And Kyrie in that series averaged 16 points per game. And the Mavs won in 6, and that included giving game 4 away. So I understand what the Vegas odds are, but for me not to take the best player in a series, it needs to be a very lopsided situation. That is not this. It appears to be this because Boston had 64 wins and Dallas had 50. But once Dallas got these players at the trade deadline and started running with this starting 5, they have the top defense in basketball. They have a record of a 65-win team. So I think the matchup's dead even. And if it's dead even and one player has a guy who's going to go down as one of the greatest offensive players in the history of the sport, and he is seemingly getting healthier and peaking, I'm going to go with them. I know that this is, not your thoughts on the finals, Damonza. So I'm curious, before we move on to anything else, your thoughts on your Celtics, your confidence level in this series compared to the last finals they were in, and what you think needs to happen for Boston to win.
Well, I obviously have the Celtics. I said that they could get it done in 6. I think that what they need to do is just play team basketball and not get in those funks where I think we just need to avoid the Celtic thing that we do with the turnovers late in games. I don't know, man. I think that you guys in the Mavericks played a tired Timberwolves team. This team isn't tired. I think, like I said before, I just think we're way too deep defensively for Luka to be able to keep that up and beat us in a 7-game series. And Porzingis isn't injured anymore. So, like, honestly, with that, I felt pretty fine without him, but with him there, that's just that much more icing on the cake. But yeah, I'm not nervous.
So you mentioned
at all.
Oh, you don't sound nervous. So you mentioned Luka not being able to dissect it. So here's an interesting one. Here are the all-time leaders in NBA Finals points per game. Rick Barry is number 1 at 36 a game. Michael Jordan is number 2 at 33.5. Jerry West is number 3 at 30. Kevin Durant is number 4 at 30 as well. Shaq is number 5 at 28.8. LeBron is number 6 at 28.4. Now, there's a few other guys who would be on that list if they had played more than 4 or 5 finals games, like Iverson's at, I think 35, but he only played 5 games. Giannis is, I think, in the mid-30s, but he only played 6 games, right? How many points per game do you think, and we're going to get to this later, but I'll just ask you here, how many points per game do you think Luka's going to average in this series?
In this series? Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
I'll give him 33, 34.
30, right. So I would as well. So that is, he is going to leave this series potentially ahead of Michael Jordan in career finals points per game. It's going to be tough to beat him. It just is. I'm not saying it can't be done, but if that, you said 5 less rings. Oh, a little Freudian slip. You didn't say 6 less rings. Oh, Damonza's already nervous. All right. Okay. Let's. You have a follow-up question here about Jason Tatum, and then we'll move on.
Yeah. So this series seems like it could be a referendum on Jason Tatum. He admitted to feeling the pressure on media day. So do you think by the end of this series that he'll prove himself to be a top 5 guy?
So listen, he is not. Tell me if you think this is unfair. He is not better. There is no way you could make the argument he is better than Luka, Jokic, or Giannis. No matter what happens in this series, we are not going to leave this series thinking he's better than any of those three guys. Do you agree with that?
Luka,
Tell me,
Giannis,
is that fair?
Maybe Luka, depending on like if something crazy could happen in this series, and Tatum just gets that 35 that you're talking about, and Luka with a measly 28.
Sure, I guess. Luka would have to. I think Tatum would have to average 35, and Luka would have to be bad, and I just can't fathom Luka being bad. But so let's just say those three guys are going to be ahead of him. Then you have this next bucket of players. Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, Shea, Anthony Edwards, Anthony Davis would, I think, be in that bucket. Is there anybody that I'm forgetting that would... I won't even put LeBron in there because LeBron's probably, at this point in his career, in that next bucket right beneath it. Jalen Brunson, I guess, out of respect to him, put him in that bucket. All right. He's somewhere in there. Right? Like, if somebody said he's better than Embiid, I would say, okay, I understand what you're saying. That Embiid, he doesn't have the regular season accolades of Embiid, but Embiid's health plus his postseason issues, you want to say that, that's fine. Right. So if somebody said he's better than Shea, I would listen to him. I think Shea was better this season, but you can, you know what I mean? You can make that argument. So my point now, if somebody said postseason stuff be damned, Embiid averaged 34 a game, won the MVP, then had a better season, I think Embiid's better than Tatum. Even if you disagreed with it, that's a credible argument. That people are allowed to have that opinion. And if somebody said Shea's younger than him and better than him and had a better season this year than Tatum's ever had, that's an allowable argument. So my point is this. Jason Tatum, and maybe folks don't like to hear this, but it's what I think is honest, is at best the fourth best player in the league. At absolute best. And at worst, the eighth best player in this league. Kind of no matter what happens in these finals. Like, he needs to do more for multiple seasons to change that. And that is not an indictment. That is not being unfair. That is not shortchanging him. And so I just feel like that's who he is and where he is. Now, there is a different, we had this on the show yesterday, which is stars to lose their first two finals. And, then what it looks like for them. Other than LeBron, none of those guys ended up being the best player on a champion. You have Clyde Drexler, who lost his first two finals, then went and joined Akeem. And by the way, the Clyde comp and Jason Tatum comp, career-wise, accolades-wise, there's a lot of, I think, fair similarities there. And then there's Jerry West, lost his first 9 finals or 8 finals, and then won a championship at the end. It's also a little weird. You look confused by that, Damonza. They just kept running into the Celtics, man. Yeah, they just kept running in. Yeah, Jerry West kept running into the Celtics. It's a wild situation, poor Jerry West. A quick Jerry West little history lesson, if we may. Jerry West lost finals under the following circumstances. He lost the 1962 finals in 7 games, averaging 31-5. He lost let me go to the next really brutal one for him. He lost the 1966 finals in 7 games, averaging 34-6. And he lost 2 finals in between those, by the way, when he was just good but not unbelievable. Also, it should be noted that 1966 finals that he lost in Game 7, which was his 4th consecutive finals loss, Game 7 was decided by 2 points. The 1962 finals, which he lost, which his first finals lost, Game 7 was decided by 3 points. He lost then so here's West's finals career, if I may just quickly. 1962, lost in 7. 1963, lost in 6. 1965, lost in 5. 1966 lost in 7. And I'm not saying who he lost to because every single time the answer is Bill Russell. 1968 lost in 6. 1969 averaged Damonza. Jerry West in those finals averaged 38, 5, and 7. Lost in 7. And yes, you guessed it, Game 7 was decided by 2 points. 1970 lost in 7 to the Knicks after Russell retired. That was the famous Willis Reed comes limping onto the court game. And then finally, Jerry West, 1972, won an NBA Finals against the Knicks. In those finals, he averaged 20 points per game. In his previous 7 finals losses,
right, screw it, we'll give you
he averaged 35 points per game. I mean, isn't that brutal? Can you imagine being that great, Damonza, and every year you make the finals, and every year you just lose to the same team?
Yeah.
And it's usually in 7 games in a 1-possession game. Yeah, that's how Jerry West's finals career went. 1-8 in the finals. Lost his first 7 trips. With that said, Tatum's not up against a Bill Russell, and he's not Jerry West. And he's not going to get 9 opportunities there. And so that Jerry West is also the guy who took a shot at JJ Redick. It was so funny. When JJ did the plumbers, and they were all plumbers and firemen back there. Jerry West is like, at some point you got to have a resume, young man. He's like, check mine, because I was a badass. At some point, I need you to go ahead and actually have some accolades before you say we were all plumbers and firemen, because my name's Jerry West, and I once hit a 60-foot shot to force overtime of a finals game. That happened. Down 2 because there was no line, inbound the ball with 1 second left and just heaved from the right past the free throw line. Net. Let's go to overtime. I mean, he's a... Oh, and so, I don't know why we did a whole Jerry West retrospective, but we did. But point is, losing your first 2 finals as the best player, traditionally, does not bode well. LeBron turned it around. Most guys haven't. Also, I said I was going to do a fast show, and I just did 10 minutes on Jerry West. Okay, next.
So chat, remember, drop your finals questions in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end of the show.
Maybe.
So moving on. The biggest question mark of the series is Porzingis. He hasn't played since April after suffering that calf injury, but he's now set to play in Game 1. Should the Celtics be worried that our number 3 option is our biggest question mark and not Tatum?
Well, so here's where,
should I say?
Well, I don't think he's the key, but I do think he is a biggest question mark, and this is where the Celtics taking care of the Pacers, as quickly as they did, kind of worked against them. Because I would have liked, if I were Boston, to get Kristaps on the court in a real game a little bit. Like the Mavs, Maxi Kleber, who is actually an important part of their rotation, good defensively, can stretch the court. He suffered that shoulder injury that you suffered, Damonza, and then came back for a few minutes in Game 4 against Minnesota and then more minutes in Game 5 to knock the rust off. So I do think that is a tricky, interesting wrinkle of what will Kristaps look like. All right, I don't even want to do the LeBron-Kyrie thing because unless that's a bummer for you. Do you really want me to do it? I'd rather Go ahead.
It's. I mean, yeah.
Go ahead. Let's do it.
Yeah. No. So, free agent to be LeBron James told his potential future coach JJ Redick that he is so mad that he's not Kyrie's running mate anymore. Kyrie came back and saying that he misses playing with LeBron. Yeah. So LeBron's comments on Kyrie are likely, maybe, what if? What's going on there?
Okay, so they're likely just the truth. That LeBron never wanted, if you remember when Kyrie demanded the trade out of Cleveland, LeBron said, just don't trade him. Just call his bluff. Don't trade him. The Cavs then traded him. And also, LeBron twice last year tried to get the Lakers to acquire Kyrie, and they didn't. So it's likely just the truth. Maybe it is attempting to set the groundwork for them playing together again one day, but the Mavs, I think, had too much success for that to be realistic. If the Mavs had gotten clipped by the Thunder, then I would have thought LeBron joining the Mavs was like on the board. But I don't think LeBron's going to join a team that either just won the championship or just made the finals. You know what I mean? And then I don't even know what the what if is. But so what if LeBron goes and joins the Mavs? I suppose, but I don't think that's going to happen. Go ahead.
What would have happened if Kyrie would have just never been, wanting to show to himself? Like, where would him and LeBron be to this day?
Oh,
man?
well, right. So it would have been intriguing. Would LeBron have ended up leaving Cleveland when he did? I don't know. Would the Lakers have been able to beat the 2018 Warriors? Maybe.
I was about to say, would the
I don't know.
Warriors not even be a dynasty anymore? Like, it's possible.
Well, right. There's a lot of real. This is one of my biggest sporting frustrations is that when Durant wanted to leave OKC, he didn't just pick Boston. It would have just been so perfect because you would have had LeBron and Kyrie in Cleveland, Steph, Clay, and Draymond in Golden State, KD in Boston with what they were building, Harden still in Houston with what he's building, and you'd have this, kind of quartet, Harden a lesser guy, all competing. And I think if that would have happened, if KD would have just picked the Celtics, my guess is from 17, 18, and 19, LeBron and Kyrie get one more, Steph and Clay get one more, and Durant figures it out some way and gets one. But then also the ring math for that era makes so much more sense. It's like, in this time, LeBron got 2, Steph got 2, right? Yeah, Steph got 2, Durant got 1. For their careers, up until this last 5 years, it'd have been Durant 1, Steph 2, LeBron 4, which is really what the hierarchy probably should be, all of those things. But Steph and KD coming together, to me, threw the whole thing off, but whatever. It is what it is. All right, we're going to do some gambling and play some games next. What's right? All right, welcome back in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 242. Damonza, what are we doing here?
Do you think that this finals will be the last sporting event that you bet on until maybe the NFL futures?
That's a good question. No, I'll bet some U.S. Open tennis. Because I like betting while I'm there. I like getting in the stands, getting a feel, seeing what's what, seeing if I can get a little edge. I'll do that. I might, as the baseball season evolves, bet a few Royals games. I might. I've been watching a lot of Royals games. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna bet the WNBA, even though Adam Lefkoe, friend of the show, friend of ours, is like the sharpest WNBA bettor that's ever existed. We have a group chat, me, him, and Danny Parkins, and he just sends these WNBA bets and he's got to be at 70% ATS on these WNBA player props. It's unbelievable. And I may or may not bet the Olympics. So there'll be some things, but go ahead.
Okay, well, it sounds like we should cook some bets up. In the meantime, so keep you held over. So today we're gonna play Chef Wright.
Okay.
And it's look at that. It's one of the most important times for our restaurant, Chef Wright. The NBA Finals. It's time to set the menu for our 5-course meal. So we got some hors d'oeuvres here to kick off our menu. We want to get the attention of our patrons, so why not spice things up immediately and predict the exact series length. We know you're picking Dallas, but how will they win?
So I've said Dallas in 5. So Dallas in 5 at 12-1 is, I like the value of it. Now, would I be better off just betting Dallas in each individual game? I don't know. But if I'm doing a specific series bet, I would go Dallas in 5. Dallas in 6 is going to be a very popular pick, but that's why it's only plus 550. Dallas in 5 at 12-1, I like. Go ahead, next.
That is insane. All right, so for our appetizer, let's see what Kyrie can cook up from deep.
All right, so here are the options. Over under 2.5 3-pointers made per game at minus 115. 5+ threes in any game at minus 120. 2+ threes in all games at plus 350. So 2.5 threes per game. Is he going to average 3 made threes a game? I don't know. I think under 2.5 3-pointers made on average for the series is actually the smart bet. I don't think this is going to be a huge Kyrie series. So I know that those seemed kind of in conflict with Dallas in 5. But then if he has one huge... Yeah, I think this, if I'm being honest, I think the smart bet is under 2.5 3-pointers made per game for Kyrie. So that's the one I would bet there. Next.
Yes, chef. Salads are green. Celtics are green.
Yeah.
Checks out.
Yeah.
Let's look at what Tatum and Brown can bring to the table.
All right, so over under 2.6 3-pointers per game for Tatum. Over under 27.2 points per game for Tatum. Over under 23.2 points per game for Jaylen Brown. And those are all minus 115 on both sides. And then 20+ points in all games for Jaylen Brown at plus 350. So I really like under 27.2 points per game for Jason Tatum. I just don't think he's going to average 27.5 points per game in these finals. Sure. I think that, yeah, what's up?
But for Brown to score 20 plus each game? Doesn't sound appetizing.
Every game? Well, yeah. Not to
20?
No. No, because so there's a first, and let me finish the Tatum point real quick. Tatum, his last finals, averaged 21 points per game. But here's the problem for the Jaylen Brown thing. If there's a blowout, he might not get the minutes, you know what I mean, in order to get to 20, especially if they're getting blown out. Also, here is Jaylen Brown this postseason points. 17, 33, 22, 17, 25. That's round 1. Round 2, 32, 19, 28, 27, 11. Round 3, 26, 40, 24, 29. That makes me like the bet even less because he hasn't had a down game in a while. So no, the plus 350 is not good enough odds for me to like him to be able to hit 20 plus in every game. Next.
Yes, chef. We know this is what you and everybody came here for. So let's give everybody what they want. The main course can be served with a pack of cigs and beer. What will Luka do?
All right, so lead this series in threes at even money. Be the finals MVP at plus 205. Average a triple-double at plus 1,200. And then there's a secret menu item of him to record a triple-double in every game at plus 20,000. There is only one of these bets being offered to me that I like, and that's finals MVP at plus 205. I think his projected points are like 31.5. I actually like the over there. I think this is going to be a huge Luka scoring series. I don't think he's going to average a triple-double. I think he'll come just short of it. But I like him to have finals MVP at plus 205 a lot. All right, next.
Okay. So for dessert, why don't we jump into some NFL bets, some sweet NFL bets
Okay.
at that. Sweet?
Yeah.
I actually mean revolting. Which one of these backups has a chance to start?
So it's Zach Wilson to take the Broncos' first snap at plus 450. Justin Fields to take the Steelers' first snap at plus 450. And Drew Lock to take the Giants' first snap at plus 275. The Drew Lock thing's interesting because Daniel Jeremiah seemed to let the cat out of the bag a few weeks ago about the Giants really leaning towards Drew Lock. But I think Justin Fields is going to win that job. And so I think Justin Fields, if they were the same odds, I'd go Lock. But Lock is only plus 275 and Fields is plus 450. So I will go with Fields at plus 450 as a little early season. Zach Wilson's not. I mean, it's going to be Bo Nix. It has to be Bo Nix for the Broncos. I don't love Bo Nix, but it's got to be Bo Nix. All right. We've got listener questions. Plus, there is an F1 race this weekend, which means we have our F1 minute coming up. That's all next. Do you have something else, Damonza? I saw you put your finger up. Was that for F1? Okay, got it. All right. That's our F1 minute, and your question's next. What's right? All right, welcome back in. If you didn't see us last week, we are introducing a new segment on Thursdays before races and Tuesdays after races called the F1 Minute. My goddaughter, Sierra, is an aspiring sports journalist. She loves F1. I know nothing about it. I was told we need to incorporate F1 coverage, so I had her do it. Now, the way we are doing this is you guys are going to see her evolution as a journalist as we go. So she sends these in. I give no notes. We play them, and then I give notes after the fact. So the notes I gave her after her last one were the following. One is, introduce yourself. You didn't say who you were. The second one was, because of how you're recording it, iPhone does the mirror image, so don't have words on a sign behind you because it can be distracting to the audience. Like, it's weird if you record on your iPhone, sometimes it shows, I don't understand why, but the reverse. And she had a sign, she had a poster or something on the wall but behind her last time, and we saw it backwards. And the last thing I said was, don't be afraid to show personality and give your picks. So we will see how she took those notes all together as we get ready for an F1 race this weekend that, I'll be honest, I don't know where it is. I do know I said I picked a favorite driver. I forgot who my favorite driver was that I said I picked. Maybe Kara can help me out. Carlos Sainz, that's my guy. I'm a Carlos Sainz guy. And because we know that the one guy dominates the F1 circuit, and so it felt like, you know what, it's not really fun to root for him. So here is F1 minute number 2 with Sierra. Hit it.
Hi guys, my name is Sierra and it's race week! I'm so excited to bring you this week's rendition of F1 Minute. So there's been a lot of important headlines leading up to the Canadian Grand Prix this weekend regarding, driver contracts and extensions. One of them being Sergio Perez, who actually extended his contract with Red Bull all the way until 2026. But on the other hand, we have Esteban Ocon, who actually has decided to part ways with the Alpine team at the end of the 2024 season. So there's a lot of things, still up in the air, especially with Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton taking his seat in Ferrari for 2025. But as far as racing is concerned, I think we're in for a real treat this weekend with long straights, 3 DRS zones, the tight chicanes, the slow speed corners. But there's also a high chance of rain for pretty much the entire weekend. So with all that being said, we'll definitely be on the edge of our seats watching this race this weekend. And I think there'll definitely be a battle towards the front of the field, especially with Max Verstappen's leading the Constructors' Championship starting to dwindle and the gap is like getting tighter and tighter. I'm really excited to see some overtakes happening, especially with last year's race. We had a total of 20 on-track overtakes. So I'm sure there will be a lot of action this weekend. And as far as my predictions go, in no specific order, I think I'm going to go Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, and Charles Leclerc as our top 4 finishers on the race this Sunday. So we'll see where that goes. But that's all I've got for the F1 Minute this week. I'll see you on Tuesday.
Oh, I like that flourish at the end. Well done. All right, so I learned a lot there. First of all, I still don't yet totally understand what this Constructors' Cup thing is. It sounds like that's the points awarded to your pit crew. I don't totally know. I'm not quite certain. Also, I don't know what DRS means, but I did figure out just from that F1 Minute, overtakes must simply mean you were ahead of me, now I'm ahead of you. And Sierra said in this race last year, there were 20 overtakes during the race. So I guess they don't happen that often. I don't know. I'm learning along like you guys. And it's in Canada, so the time zone won't be a problem. I'll watch this weekend. And she had my guy Carlos in her top 4. Your thoughts, Damonza?
I think she did that so she could get a good grade.
There's no grades.
Good. But no, it was awesome.
Evaluation.
I saw the improvement from the last time, so it was really dope. It was really dope.
So yeah, we might have gone too minimalistic on the background. We might have overcorrected there. But the personality was coming through. Also, though, and she'll learn this as she goes on. We need a meatier prediction than here's the top 4 in no order. Like, I need a bap. But let's see how those top 4 actually do. I was glad to hear and I didn't know all those things about the contract extensions, all of that. That was exciting. That was great. All right, let's get to these questions, Damonza.
Curtis Matthews asked, who do you have winning a 7-game series between the 2011 Finals Mavericks or this year's Finals Mavericks?
This year's Finals Mavericks. With respect to Dirk and J. Kidd, this year's Finals Mavericks, I think is a better team. Next.
Didn't they both beat LeBron?
Well, this Mavericks team didn't beat LeBron. They didn't play LeBron. LeBron lost to the Nuggets, unfortunately. But yes, the 2011 Mavs beat LeBron. Oh, would they have? No, well, that was a weird... Listen, that was LeBron's one true failure of his career. Like, was LeBron going to have that type of kind of short-circuiting for the final 3 games of the finals against anybody? I don't know. Like, if they were, then a lot of teams would have ended up beating them. Next.
Connor Leland asked, if Celtics win, should LeBron join the Mavs? Can they do that financially and draft Bronny? I think media will be fine with it because he wouldn't be joining a team that has won anything, no?
Well, listen, I don't know if the media would be fine with it. Media's not going to be really fine with anything LeBron does. I'd love to see LeBron leave the Lakers. It's unlikely he does. I think the Sixers are the one team that could add him, compete, and pay him. Every other team, he'd have to be joining for close to the league minimum. That has a real chance to compete. Next.
Nick Wright Muse, if Dallas wins, do you promise to join Celtics Twitter space after the last game?
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah, I think I'd love to do that. I don't know if their Twitter space community is as vibrant as the Warriors one is, but yeah, I'd love to do that. Producers ask, there is a Nick Wright Muse. Yeah, check him out on Twitter. He's got a great account. He also just tweeted earlier today, just to prove I'm not a sycophant, I think the Celtics roll in this series. So it's a bad take by him, but yeah, it's a good account. All right, next.
Thanks, Nick Wright Muse. Case Wageman said, don't know if you ever did the all-time cinematic dog rankings from a few weeks ago, but Balto is one, right? Who's Balto?
Balto dog? I don't know. Who is Balto? I've never heard of Balto, so I don't know who that is. Why is Balto famous in not Togo? What happened to Balto?
Balto looks really weird.
I don't know what Balto is. No, the cinematic dog rankings is a whole podcast for when it's not NBA final season.
Balto
right,
from
now
A Miraculous Sled Dog Medicine Delivery. I don't think that's what the movie's called, actually. Hold on.
Yeah, no, I have no idea. I've never heard of Balto. But all right, next.
Producers asked, break a tie, yay or nay on coleslaw popsicles. So you got a VO for it.
No, that's a nay. That's gross, man. It's just gross. Like I saw this on Twitter too. That's a nay. And also, I understand this is one of the reasons this podcast doesn't go viral as much as other podcasts. But with respect to my wonderful producers who I adore and who help the show, I do not enjoy responding to the dumbest shit that was on the internet this week. I understand that is like the skeleton key to viral podcast success for everyone else. I'm just not going to do it. Like, hey, anyone got a thought on the guy who was driving to to court or did a Zoom call with an expired license? Oh, wait, he didn't have an expired license. Oh, wait, he never had a license. I don't give a shit about those things. I think it is actually, it is part of the ruination of all of us. What'd you say?
I think that guy got arrested yesterday, though.
I mean, again, everyone is we're just all getting dumber. And it's like, and so many of these things that are like crazy, and it's infuriating also because it's like, oh my God, look at this clip of this horrible racism on an airplane. And it's like, this is the worst group of actors in a skit I've ever seen.
Right, yes.
It's obviously fake, and it's just created to dupe rubes and to tear our country apart. And then it's like, hey, here is the most revolting food item I can ever think of. I'm going to say this is a family tradition of mine, and it's going to get 16,000 quote tweets, and then Stephen A is going to rip it apart on his show. I'm not interested. I understand that's why this show is not as successful as others. I'm okay with it. I think they're playing me off with music.
It really is not like coleslaw popsicles.
I just don't like stupidity. That's all. I just try to be, you want to have a little Balto the dog conversation, that's fine. You want to talk, I'm okay with that. But like, hey, here's the thing that the damn algorithm said we're all interested in. I'm not interested in it. And now they're playing me off like Oscars music. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. What's right? Hey, thanks for watching. If you're still here, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the bell so you can be notified when we have new episodes. After you've done that, one more favor. Go to your favorite audio platform of choice and subscribe there as well. Don't forget, we're live every Tuesday and Thursday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern-ish. 10:35, 10:40, it sometimes changes, but that's why you hit the bell. You hit the bell so you're notified. You subscribe so we can get to 200,000 followers. We're right around 150,000. We'd love to get to 200,000, get Damonza another plaque. So like, subscribe, rate, send a rating too. Do all that cool stuff. Thanks, guys.